Let's start off with a little check-in. This wasn't the session that I originally planned for today. A few weeks ago, you may or may not know this, but I had rotator cuff surgery on my right shoulder. And over the last couple days, I have just been kind of reflecting and realizing how quickly life can ask us to shift, to slow down, to change course on what we thought was happening. And I'm going to admit, I don't like slowing down. I don't like veering from my plan or my path, but I have learned enough through this life that when life asks us of this, we have to listen. I like to move and work and teach and do all the things that I want to do and stay very active. So this season has required me to do things differently than I choose. And I think it's so important that we continue to do these check-ins with ourselves so we realize and understand and just have awareness of what season we're in and what it's asking of us, so we don't try to just barrel through without that connection. It just really made me think, how often do we spend energy wishing that we were in a different season, where we're arguing with reality, we're arguing with what is actually happening, thinking like, I wish I felt better, I wish I could do more, I wish things are back to normal, I wish this wasn't happening. These are all common things that I think we all can relate to in some ways, and they're understandable, right? But I think the problem arises when they keep us fighting reality instead of working with it. So some things I like to ask myself instead of why is this happening is, what does this season need from me right now? Why could this be happening for me? What lessons are here for me? Maybe you're going through something as well that feels really challenging that you wish wasn't happening. And so maybe asking yourself that right now, what does this season need for me? If I connect and I stay in what's happening instead of trying to fight reality, what do I need here? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's trusting that healing is happening even when it feels slow. But whatever season that you are in right now, my hope is that you'll stop measuring yourself against who you were last month, last year, or even yesterday, and instead meet yourself where you are right now. Because that is where healing begins. So let's do a couple minutes of some breath work. Breath work is such a gift. It is something that we have within us, our breath, and we can use it anytime that we need it. And so maybe placing one hand on your belly or one hand on your heart. And let's just first feel what our breath feels like. Maybe it's fast. Maybe it feels good to close your eyes. Let's just slow the breath down a little bit. And we're going to move into some counting our breath here. So we're going to inhale to the count of 4 and exhale slowly to the count of 6. And with each inhale, I want you to think of what you want to receive. I receive this moment. Maybe it's patience, maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's love. And then with each exhale, I want you to release something. Maybe that's resistance. Maybe that's wishing things were different. Maybe that's stress. Maybe that's people pleasing. So we're going to breathe in to the count of 4, exhale to the count of 6. And as you inhale, you're going to receive what you need. And with each exhale, you're going to release what you don't need. So I'm going to take us through this 3 times. And I will count us through. Placing your feet on the ground. Wiggle my screen there. And again, if it feels good to close your eyes. Let's do 1 cleansing breath together, inhaling through our nose, exhaling fully through our mouth. And then we're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And allowing that breath to go back to a natural rhythm. You can keep those eyes closed as we move into a meditation. Just noticing that breath now, taking a slow breath in and then letting it go. Relaxing your shoulders. In your mind's eye, I want you to imagine yourself standing beside a quiet river. And you notice that the water is moving gently. The river isn't rushing. It just flows at the pace that it needs to. And as you watch the water, ask yourself, what am I resisting in this season that I'm in right now? What am I fighting back? What am I holding on to? And just notice what comes up. Maybe it's this desire for things to be different, or you think something should be a certain way or shouldn't be a certain way. Maybe somebody should be doing something that they're not. Maybe it feels like if only this were happening, this other thing, then my life would be much better. Sometimes those can feel like helpful thoughts, but they really are thoughts that hold us back. Maybe you're thinking, I wish things were like they used to be. I wish I was the person I used to be. Again, our brain can kind of think that sounds like helpful thinking, but it really is harmful because it's causing us to argue with reality. So just being aware of what comes up without judgment. And then asking ourselves, what would it feel like to soften, to let go of that resistance? What if we could say, it's okay that I'm not the person I used to be. I've been through things, I've done things, I've experienced things. Of course, I'm a different person. Maybe we can let go of what we think another person should be doing. You know, they have their own experience, their own reasons, their own inner turmoil that causes them to do what they do. So let's let go of what someone else should or shouldn't be doing. And this allows us to stop fighting the moment. Because no matter what thoughts we have, if they don't match up with reality, then they cause turmoil for us. So we go back to this stream, this gentle stream of water. I want you to think about, maybe you see a leaf there that you pick up. And imagining yourself just placing whatever you felt like is resisting for you. Or maybe it's expectations that are just feel too heavy, things that you feel like you should be doing, or things that somebody else thinks you should be doing. Maybe think about placing that on a few leaves that you found just sitting beside this stream. Maybe it's feeling like you should heal faster. You should have it all together like, everybody else on Instagram. Maybe it's that you should be stronger, or maybe that you wish you did something more perfectly. So let's, however many leaves we need, remember this is on our mind's eye, so we can picture however many we want, and we just place each thing on a leaf. Pick up that leaf and just gently drop it into this stream. One by one, watch that leaf float down the river. We're not going to chase it or hold on to it. We're going to just let it go. How does that feel? Other people's expectations, arguing with reality, we're going to just let those float on by. They're not helping us. What happens if we trust that our body already knows how to heal? Your heart is beating without you even having to think about it. Your lungs are breathing without trying. Your body is constantly working on your behalf. So perhaps healing isn't something you have to force, but it's maybe our job to just create space for it. I don't know if you can hear my dog, but she is snoring in the background. I think she's really getting something out of this meditation. Perhaps it's our job to simply create space for healing. Let's take in another deep breath here together. And silently repeat, or you can say it out loud, I can trust this season. I don't have to rush through it. I can trust what's happening right now and embrace it. I might not have to love it, but I'm going to be present for it. And so I can learn the lessons that I need to learn. So let's go ahead and open our eyes and grab a journal, piece of paper. And our first reflection question is just, what season of life am I in right now? What's going on around me? What season of life am I in right now? And the second reflection question is, where have I been resisting instead of accepting what is? My dog Lilo is really thinking about this in her dreams. Where have I been resisting instead of accepting? And what might this season be inviting me to practice, to learn? What might this season be inviting me to practice? And what is one way I can show myself compassion this week? What's a small thing that you can do for you? And as we close out, I want to share a poem. So the author, this was one I found on Pinterest. And so I know that it just says E.H is the author. I was the type of person that held on to things too tight, unable to release my grip when it no longer felt right. And although it gave me blisters and my fingers would all ache, I always thought that holding on was worth the pain it takes. I used to think in losing things, I'd lose part of me too. That slowly I would become someone that my heart no longer knew. Then one day, something happened. I dropped what I had once held dear, but my soul became much lighter instead of filled with fear. And it taught my heart that some things aren't meant to last for long. They arrive to teach you lessons and then continue on. You don't have to cling to people who no longer make you smile, or do something you've come to hate if it isn't worth your while. That sometimes the thing you're fighting for isn't worth the cost, and not everything you ever lose is bound to be a loss. And as we finish out today's mindset and meditation, just considering that, what is asking you to let go of it right now? What are you gripping so tight that your hands are numb or tingly or painful? And if you just release that grip and let it go. Remember, you don't have to love every season that you're in. Some seasons are hard. Some are harder than others. Some are seasons we never want to experience again. They're painful. They might ask us more than we ever wanted to give. But each season, even those hard ones, has something to teach us. So whatever you're going through right now, whether it's something small, frustration, something big, instead of wishing you were somewhere else, ask yourself, what does this season need from me? What is it here to teach me? And trust that wherever you are, you're exactly where your next step begins. I hope that you enjoyed this kind of shift in today, because this is really what's been on my heart as I shift and grow and learn in this season of my life too. All right, so nice to meet with you today, and I'll see you soon.